Says coffee.
It just says coffee, but you don't drink coffee. False
Nope.
advertisement.
I don't have a mug on me, but I got some nice Dave's and Orchards apple juice rocker now.
Their
got-
spiced apple cider is so good as well.
Oh yeah, I got one of
Yeah.
those when we were there. So good. I haven't had
Yeah,
cider in so long too, so it was a nice little refresher of what it tasted like.
Bought 9 cases. I bought the 9-case thing. Froze a bunch, kept it. It's good. Going through it fast already, but
Of
we
which?
didn't the apple juice.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I just got a 3-packer, but we only have one left.
Last year we bought a 3-pack. We used one. We put the other 2 in our closet, and when we opened them up a month later, the juice was all gone. Like it disappeared.
You're still supposed to refrigerate it. What the fuck's
Well,
wrong
we
with you?
read the
Refrigerate.
instructions afterwards, and we realized we're supposed to, but we don't know where the
No
juice went.
preservatives.
The
Please
juice was
refrigerate
gone.
or freeze.
The juice was just gone.
It was the person that lives in your closet.
Yeah, or Madison fucking lying to you the whole time. I don't know where that juice could have went. And she's just
gaslighting him.
just guzzling it every time he's asleep. And then like, oh, what's that? I think she's cheating, but it's just on the juice. Like it's just like. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Geek First review. I am the NDA signer, Trash Snail, and I'm joined by.
I am the juice monkey, Kirklin Patzer.
I'm the influencer, Taylor Field.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't guessed by the nicknames or the title, we are reviewing You Season 3. I would actually say this is probably one of our most anticipated casts of the year as far as like a movie or TV show that we're interested in, because I feel like we're always like, oh, when's it coming? When the trailers happen, we get excited, we start theorizing, so it's going to be good. If you want to hear our thoughts on Season 1 and 2, we re-released those, I think, a couple weeks ago, and those surprisingly did very well, so thank you for tuning into those. So I hope we don't disappoint you with this third one if it's any new people listening. Taylor Field, we got lots popping off this month. We got charity streams, tons of content, polls, shirts, all this whole no hats, but shirts, a whole bunch of stuff. Where they got Manscaped? Where can they find all this information?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, yes, you can find us at our home base, GeekVerse.ca. You can find us social media, GeekVerseCast or Twitter, and then GeekVerse on Facebook. And as you said, Travis, check us out on the Facebook because the poll, the Halloween fan base community poll is popping off. And this is very intense. Last I checked, it was a difference of like, I think 3 to 4 votes with Freddy in the lead and Ghostface like quick up the rear.
It's scary. It's scaring me. It's scaring me because Freddie, if people don't know in our Halloween poll, like this is the rematch. So we brought a bunch of them back, or Taylor did. And the first time we did this, I think he maybe got past like round 1, but after that he got bopped.
Didn't get far.
Yeah. He got bopped pretty easily for a guy that at one point was the biggest horror icon in the world. And he's like, I'm biased because he's my favorite horror villain. So I was like, man, this is super disappointing. But then years later, these new fans we have, they're feeling the Freddy vibes. If Freddy can beat Ghostface, I think he could go all the way. Michael's tough because it's his season right now, but
and he's got a movie.
Yeah, but he also got some movie that some people really don't like, so it might help. So I don't know. I, even if he's made to the semifinals, I'm very happy. But man, if we get Freddy in the Hall of Fame, I'm gonna be jumping. I'm gonna be backflipping.
That'd be good. Yeah, I noticed Kirklin hasn't been voting at all. Kirklin, are you gonna vote this round?
I'm very bad at going on Facebook, so I apologize. I think the last one, it was Freddie's mom and Jason's mom,
yeah.
And I was looking at it and I'm like, I want to see how close this gets before I vote, and I completely forgot to vote. So I've just been not doing my civil service and voting on these polls.
Better than Jessica. Jessica voted after the poll round closed. So
yeah, little emo voting for Jack Skellington. You know what I'm saying? Fuck those emos. You know, like who even likes Jack Skellington nowadays? You know, like it's such an overused.
I drove by your house too. I saw your Jack Skellington in the wind.
He's like the #1 fanboy when it comes to Jack Skellington.
I have an Oogie Boogie shirt too, and we just bought the kids' tattoos and everything like that. I just bought a really cool. It's a pumpkin ornament with Sam from Trick or Treat sitting on it, and the light goes on.
That's cool.
Inside. Yeah, we almost bought another Sam like hanging from the roof thing, but it was $80, and we already have Jack. And we're like, let's see after the day after Halloween what's on sale, because like I love my Sam, but $80, it's like I don't know about that, but. Most importantly, what we got popping off. That's why you follow Facebook, because November 6th, you can see it down below in the header. November 6th, 9 a.m. PST is the start of our 24-hour Extra Life charity stream. It's our 5th year doing it. We are trying to raise $2,500. I like when it's just the round numbers, you know. Really, I should say we're just trying to raise 1,000, because if we hit the If we hit the 2,500 mark, I'm going to say that. I just don't like saying 2,500, but it's easier to say. If we hit that mark, that's our goal because every year we move up by 500. So if we hit that, Taylor will shave his head. Now, last year we went, I think, $700 past our goal. Like we this year's goal was supposed to be 2,000, and we hit that last year, so it was crazy. So we need to stretch that a little bit. We don't got to get to 700, but if we get to the 500 mark, if we get to $3,000, Jessica will shave her head live, bald, on air. And we have to, because listen to this, folks. People like her mother, her grandmother said they're not donating this year because they don't want to shave her head. That means we got to donate fucking extra. You know, every year I donate 100, maybe it's going to be a little bit more. We already have almost $200 in donations. So a big thank you. As always, when the stream starts, we'll thank everyone that donated before the stream started at the event. But just a big thank you already to people that donated. It's always good to go in there, even with like a little bit, you know, just like it gets the juices going a little bit. So tons of stuff. Sports title match with me and Kirklin next week, not tomorrow's newscast, because I mean me and Kirklin, but next week is going to be the contract signing. Taylor's going to officiate and ask some questions to us because it's a big deal. You know, Kirklin, I think if he defends this and keeps us, he'll be going on keeping this belt for maybe 3 years. But then talking about threes, if I win it, I'll be the man of threes with 3 titles. And oh man, think about all the posters we could make, Taylor, with me with 3 titles.
I'd be on that poster too because I own one of those titles with you.
That's true. You sometimes forget that, but that would be true. But oh man, so Kirkland, I want those posters. But we're gonna be playing the new Mario Party. I walked in Walmart today. It was so cool. I saw the Mario Party Superstars. I didn't even know it's 5 classic boards. So that's great. It's even more than like the OG games had 4. So we're gonna be playing that. That's gonna be myself, Taylor, Kirkland, and Saris in a fatal 4-way. So that's gonna be good. Taylor and Kirkland gonna be playing Vanguard for the first time ever in a best of 5, and then a trivia battle. Clay just announced Tony Anthony from whatever you want to call him. You know what you're gonna be calling him November 6th? A loser, because he joined Clay's team. And you know what? We had some talks about not, and he decided to go on Clay's team. And you know what? That's fine. I got some good announcements. You're gonna want to stay tuned to the Twitter on GeekVerse every day, 12 p.m. PST. So I might be bringing in some guests or some players from a galaxy far, far away. So excited to kick Tony's butt. I'm excited to kick Kirkland's butt in this trivia battle. It's going to be a glorious thing. Marvel, Star Wars trivia, DC. Taylor's disappeared in the ether. Head over to Patreon, ad-free exclusive early episodes. The more you support us, the more content you get. So please do that. We very much appreciate it. Shout out to your friend Tyler who just joined Patreon. I'm sorry, Tyler.
Hell yes.
We don't have a hat, but we're working. We're working on. We're gonna find you a hat. But yes, and then we had Fandom. Go check out those casts. It was good. Me and Taylor just reviewed Halloween. There'll be a newscast this week. We're gonna be reviewing Dune soon. Just tons of stuff popping off right now. So I think that's everything. Extra live. Oh, and then also, it's not going to be a full ad break, but you know who I think would really appreciate Manscaped? Joe, because you know he's always looking to cut corners, and cutting your corner is the most important corner to cut. That's an unprepared ad read, ladies and gentlemen, but you can get them. We talk about it all the time. Me and Taylor just talk about Halloween on Fandom. We'll be talking about next week as well. Next week you'll get to hear Kirkland's thoughts on the Manscaped so far. So don't spoil it, Kirkland. Don't say anything. But
no, I won't spoil.
Go over there. 20% off, free shipping worldwide, not just American, worldwide. You can get that all the way November 15th. So please, 1, it makes a great Christmas gift. 2, it's good for yourself. And 3, it helps us out as well. So a big thank you to anyone that's done that. And yeah, you're going to want to do that because as me and Taylor shared, we're both enjoying our experiences quite a lot. So I want to know, Taylor Field, did you enjoy your season 3 experience quite a lot?
I got 2 more things I want to shout out. We're getting right into the U. I put my finger up, but then we're jumping into the Manscaped.
So you know what I say you should do from now? When you have stuff to promote, do it when you do the Facebook, Twitter, and then just go. Because look, I had a perfect transition, and you cut me off from the knees. You love.
I don't have to promote it. I can do it next.
Oh, you got to now. Derail this train.
Yeah, go ahead.
I get like official release date kind of up in the air. Or not official like release date, but like because I know newscasts are Wednesdays, and I'm still trying to figure out like the right time to like slide in that Chucky review, which comes out every week for every new episode that drops. You can check out the first episode. When does it drop? It drops tonight, but on Tuesdays. But I just feel like, you know, I'll just kind of let it like seep in for everyone to watch, and then I try to review it or put it out the next day for Wednesday, but I know Wednesday is the newscast, so it's just a matter of like trying to like balance it out. But
well, if you think about this, like obviously the days when you record newscasts might be tricky. We record news on the Wednesday, but it releases on the Thursday, so you could release Chucky on the Wednesday.
Boom, there you go, folks. You heard it here first. Wednesdays is Chucky night.
And that's why I check out all our feeds, because you can get like right now, like you have the main feed that has everything, but the review feed has all our reviews, news feed, etc. So that's why if you missed Taylor's last episode of Chucky, because we upload 1 million podcasts per day, apparently, just go to the review feed and you'll be able to find it just like that. It's just reviews. So go there, and the podcast network. Check that out, of course.
And also, last thing on the Extra Life. We did this last year, but if you are donating, you automatically qualify to a chance to win one of our Extra Life shirts.
Yes, if you buy our Extra Life shirt as well, it's right when you go to T Public. When you buy that, all the proceeds go towards the stream. But yeah, we'll enter a draw. Hansy, if you enter this year, you know what? It doesn't matter if she donates. I guess she can win it again.
If she wins, she has to trade in her shirt for like a higher tier prize.
It's all like chewed up and shredded and like, where was she?
I just laughed last year when like legitimately we randomized and it's like, oh, the most long-term fan we've ever had happens to win. You know, people are like, these fucking biased people. But okay, now Taylor, pick up the baton. And plus she needs it. She's stealing all her other clothes. So actually she probably rigged the system or something. Taylor Field, pick up where you were gonna leave off there with you season 3. Obviously you're a fan of it. You've been watching. I think you were on the first review, you were on the second one, but still you're here on season 3. How do you feel about this one?
So the ending of that last season had me super, super intrigued going in, because they set up so many things like, okay, and again, spoiler free, we just knew going in Joe's going to kind of have like a relapse, you could say.
Okay, and great thoughts. Kirklin, what do you think about this season? No,
it'd be curious to see where he was going to build off of that and what was going to become of that. And this show did that. And it took so many right turns, left turns, and it had so many moments where I was laughing my head off. And I can't wait to talk about some of those specific moments, but it in general just was cool to be in his head on a whole nother level and to have so many new factors at play. You know, there's a kid involved, and you have the relationship dynamic. You have Joe relapsing to his old ways, and you have this new suburban, supposed to be like a little pocket of heaven lifestyle. And it's very, very interesting how it unfolds. So
where would you rank? Because this is like, I feel like, and as always, we're doing non-spoilers. We'll take a break and then we'll do the spoilers. Where do you have a ranking right now as for the seasons you've enjoyed the most? Like, where would this rank out of the 3?
I'd put this as number 1.
Oh, big bridges. All right, Kirklin Patzer. I'm going to open up with this question right away. Would you also put it at number 1?
I would also put it at number 1.
Oh,
can I ask you right away what you would put it?
I would put it at number 1.
Oh, look at that. And that's our review. Tune in next time.
Yeah. Tune in for you season 4 next year.
Yeah, I can't remember. Was I on you season 1 review?
No, not season 1. Season 1 was me, Briggs, Dylan, and Jessica, because I think Dylan accidentally watched it and Jessica just watches everything on Netflix. And
me and Kirklin did our own season 1 review.
Yeah, you can find it on the $50 tier on Patreon. And then Briggs I think just tagged along because he was bored. So
fair enough. And now we can't even find Briggs. So
he got whatever Joe does to people. That's what someone did to Briggs. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, right away, I'd put this as my favorite season so far. To make like a definitive list, I'd probably have to rewatch all the seasons because I've only seen each season once so far. But so a spoiler-free section. I really, really love this episode this season from the first episode. I think it just did such a good job at like not even trying to beat around the bush. Like we just plunged right into the deep end, and it's just like, okay, this is the show. This is where we're going with this season. And it's like, I am so in. Like I was all in from that first episode, and I thought it was such a good lead into this season. And throughout the season, I thought it was just really, really strong. Each episode, there was maybe a couple moments here and there that kind of lulled a bit, but all in all, I think the big moments like lifted it for me. Taylor mentioned the comedy. I didn't remember the show having so much comedy. I think maybe like the comedy elements are like because he deals with such like such crazy characters that like maybe those people are what make it so funny, but like also just the thoughts that he has in his head sometimes, and the quick wittiness, even if he doesn't say it, it's just like his inner dialogue, like that's pretty funny. But yeah, the characters that they introduced in the season, I love them. They're like some of my favorite side characters in like recent memory in TV shows. So I really liked pretty much everyone that was introduced, even people that like you're supposed to hate them. I love them for that purpose. Like the actors and actresses did such a good job of portraying those characters. And yeah, all in all, I think if you've seen You season 1, You season 2, definitely don't stop now. Keep watching. The show's just so entertaining, and they're doing such a good job with it. And Penn Badgley is just phenomenal. And yeah, I think that's all I'll really say, spoiler free.
Yeah, so as I already spoiled, this is my favorite season. So I'm somebody that I actually rewatched the show before this came out, and I've done that a couple times. Obviously, the last one was just one season, so it was easy to do. I've always said, like, the reason I like it, and it's just so funny that we are 2 weeks away from Dexter coming back, but for me, this was like the Dexter feeling of like I was missing that hole, and it gives you that kind of, okay, you have this psychopath, Dex was an anti-hero, but you're trying to root for Joe, but you know he's a terrible person. So, but it fills that void of like you're inside his head, you're getting all these thoughts. I've always said, okay, has the Dexter thing, and I think they've always done a good job of like themes and also just keeping you on your toes. Because like I remember with You season 2, it starts right away when you meet Love, and it's just like, oh, we're gonna do this exact same thing again we did with Beck, and that's gonna be every season. It's like, oh, and that can be still fun because like the show's well written and well acted and stuff like that. But you're like, oh, we're just gonna do the same thing, and then it shifts and it keeps shifting. It obviously does a big shift with Love, and that's a big twist. If you're listening to this review, I'm sure you already know there's a big twist that she is a psychopath crazy person like him, right? So that was really cool. And same thing with this season, first episode, it gets you on this path to think, okay, like there'll be some different stuff we don't know is going to happen, but I pretty much know how this is going to go down. And then right away, it's like, nope, that's not what I was going to do. And then we're off to a ride. And it's just fantastic. I think it's so good at tackling, like the first season was just about like, every season has like the serial killer, like messed up dude aspect, right? And like a horror thriller vibe. So you got that, but then they also like tackle real world stuff, where the first season was about finding love and just dating and stuff like that. Season 2 was like you've just had a big breakup. Now he murdered Beck, so it's a lot different. But like you had a big breakup and you're on the rebound. Now you guys, I know you guys got significant others, but I don't know how much you can relate to this show. But this season, man, especially just having a kid right now, it is one of the most relatable things, because like when you have a kid, your entire life changes, but also your dynamic with your partner changes. And I think they really nail, like, again, not even talking about like the horror, like otherworldly stuff, just like I think they nailed the dynamic of living together, married life, a kid, how everything changes, your time changes, your life changes. How do you manage that? How do you manage stuff with your partner? And especially because this is their first kid, for them it's just like you see it all, just like, especially these two are very high strung and very out there. It's let's say an intense situation, but I think they nail that so well, because you're not always happy with one another. You're not always in this great mood that you see in like the movies. And I think they've always done a good job, whether it's dating or like relationship psychology or dynamic. They've always done a good job of like social media. Like the writers just nail that stuff. And so you got the themes, you got the kind of twist material. All the cast is great. Penn Badgley is great. I never know how to say her name. It's like Victoria Pedrati or Pedriti. I don't know, but like
Was that Love?
yeah, Love.
Yeah.
Whoever, like between Haunting of Hill House, Bly Manor, and this, she is easily one of the best actresses right now. She's just so good, especially all those are on Netflix, but those are all three very different roles. And I love Penn, but I feel like she's just kind of like a little bit of a tier above him. But yeah, I feel like this season delivered on everything it promised. We were expecting some crazy stuff, and it happens, but it all works for the most part, and it just keeps you on your toes. It's entertaining, it's really fun, it's really clever. It is to the point though, and we'll talk about some spoilers, where because me and Taylor talked about this, like how many seasons can they go. I feel like the difficult thing is they announced season 4 even before this came out, so they know people are liking this. Like Squid Game was #1 for weeks, and finally the first thing to knock it down was You. They know that people are into the show. I do worry it's gonna go the Dexter route, because I am starting to get to that point of like, I don't know how much more we can do here though now. Like it's great, but like when this season ended, and we'll talk about in spoilers, I was like, I would really like if they said that next season was the last, because I feel like they cover so much stuff where you risk getting a little repetitive. And I hope it's not the case, but it is a worry of mine, because
Yeah.
this feels like the Trinity season of season 4 of Dexter. Like, oh, you got like, I don't know if the show can get this like to this height again. I'll explain more in spoilers, but it is a worry of mine.
Yeah, that's like it's definitely an observation I had as well. But I think there was fresh enough stuff in this season that made it very different. Like I didn't really get like repetitive vibes, even though I
Mhm.
was expecting to get repetitive vibes, because like the whole idea of Joe is he just gets obsessed with like someone else, and then it's just like the same thing whether he's dialoguing to himself. But I, I let's just wait for for spoilers, because
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
talk about the end. So
But yeah, no, I recommend it if you haven't watched it. I don't know why you'd be listening to this review, but yeah, it's just it's a great show. I look forward to it every
yeah.
time it's on, and I will be very interested next year. But yeah, I'll wait until we get spoilers. So anything else non-spoilers you want to say before we get here?
Let's get
All
to
right.
it.
Yeah, let's hop to it. So we're gonna take our first ad break, and then after that, we'll be right back with a spoilers review of season 3 review. And we're back. Okay, so are we doing that? Are we starting at the end and working our way? Because you had a point, Kirkland, you wanted to make, but then
Well, yeah, I guess since it's pretty close to what you were just talking about, like with this show ending, and it's funny how you're mentioning the show kind of feels like Dexter, just in the sense that he's like some psychopath, but also the way that the season ends and he like gets rid of his baby, very similar to how Dexter ends.
yes,
Um,
it literally is the ending of Dexter. This series,
he's
you
just like
know.
a lumberjack in
Yeah,
Canada. He said he's in
yeah,
Paris,
yeah,
but
yeah. He's getting
yeah. So
closer.
I think because of how it ended, it honestly could be like season 1 of You again. It could be like him just living on his own. He's in Paris now instead of New York, but like he could easily just be working at a bookshop. So I definitely think that I'll get vibes of that same, but also I feel like yeah, he's still obsessed with Marianne at the end of this one, but like because that's like his goal at the end of the season, I feel like the whole dynamic of next season is going to be different, because he's going to be just tracking her down, even though she's like knows, I don't know, maybe she's in disbelief about what happened. I didn't really get that from when Love was just like telling Marianne everything that he did and like murdered him, but like also Marianne didn't get like definitive proof of that, and she
Mhm.
did say that she was in love with Joe, so maybe she has like those rose tinted glasses and lets it pass by. But I think there's going to be some interesting stuff, not only because who Marianne is, but also because Marianne has a kid. I think Joe's kid is going to come back at some point in time. Maybe not the whole geez, what's his name? What's Dexter's son's name?
Harrison.
Yeah, Harrison. Like maybe not come back when he's like 14 or something, but still like Joe, I don't know. I
Well,
don't know.
I think for me, and that's why like I had to stop because when we were done spoilers, but like the reason why I said it's Trinity, because to me, Love is Trinity. I don't think you can top this dynamic, and I think that's why, because me
Yeah.
and Taylor were talking about when that trailer came out, and I think Taylor, you said they should go 4 seasons and end it. I said 5. The reason I said 5 is because I've been saying this. You can go back to the season 2 review. I've been saying this since then. Like Love's gonna die. Like because there's just no way they're both going to be on the show together longer than a season. It's the unstoppable force being the immovable object. Like something was bound to give. But the thing is, like, so you have her, and she is just fantastic, right? But I said to Taylor, oh, I think what will happen, you'll get 2 seasons because you'll get, the fallout of what happens when Love dies, and then the last season to wrap it up. They did the fallout of that like in the last 10 minutes of this episode of
Mm-hmm.
the finale of him writing the note, and he covers all his tracks. So I guess because this is the same thing I said to Emily, where the Marianne thing is interesting and there is some dynamics to play, but I think they've always had this good hook of like, okay, you had the Beck stuff and then Candace shows up. Plus, it was still just like, okay, Joe's moved from New York to LA. That's fun. And then this in season 2, it ended with, okay, now he's with Love, this woman who's just as dangerous as him, and she's pregnant. What happens now? For me, a season 4, if they say, oh, it's the last one, to me, that's a big hook. For me, the hook of Marianne is not that yet. Like, it doesn't have me going, oh, I can't wait to see season 4, other than like I really like the cast and crew and everything like that. But like the Marianne stuff will have things you can do, but I do worry you could start getting that's when you could start getting repetitive, is doing the, like you said, he is hunting and it's different, but still he usually still kind of hunts everybody, right? He's always creeping around, he's always looking at social
Got that
media. And
hat, yeah.
I think this was, I guess that's why I worried for the show, because this was the first season where I went, oh, like I'll be excited when we get there, but I'm not like, man, I can't wait to see it. Like if this show would have ended and it would have just said like fini, like because he's in France, and like it would have been the last season, I would be like, you know what? That was perfect. That was a great way to go. Maybe you could do it later on, but I don't know, Taylor, where are you on? Because you were someone that says they should end on a season 4. Now you've seen season 3. Do you still have that feeling? Because like I said, we've seen what happens when these characters. My worry is like with Dexter, it just got too big and it got too like unrealistic, and that's my worry with this. And like I said, with Love, I feel like she's like Trinity, where can you ever like kind of get a kind of antagonist that's as good as her? I don't think you can.
I think at this point, it 100% should end after this fourth season. I really, really do. And I say that based on the fact that, okay, he's changed immensely as a character. His development has grown exponentially. So now at this point in his life, I don't think you need to find a replacement for Love. The way I would love to see this end, and not in a way that kind of like gets us vindication for Joe. I mean, many people probably think like, oh, I want to see him get caught, everything like that, because that's everyone's
100%.
dream, to see like a serial killer. I would honestly find it to be a very interesting, not point where he's confessed to his partner, whoever he connects with, and the next time around, that he's a killer and all that stuff like he did with Love, but kind of finally get a hold on it, because I felt like this season was him actually getting a hold on that. And again, we see him relapse, but throughout this, he develops, and we see him taking steps to grow again for his kid Henry and for Love. But Love is what really brought him out of this developmental stage he was trying to go through. Oh, 100%, I would say so. Yeah, because he was between the two, and we'll get more in depth with them in this review. I stand with Joe over her.
Oh my god,
I do, because of what she did and the things that she was putting on his plate. Like,
Well,
they're equal. They're equal.
oh, they're equally bad. Absolutely.
Yeah,
oh, I'm
Like,
not saying one
honestly,
is better than the other, but
I
I
feel
think
like-
she's worse.
well, and like there's parts where Love felt a lot more chaotic than Joe. Like Joe, yeah, he's fucked up and like gets obsessed with people, but like Love was just like, oh, someone's in my way, I'm just gonna kill them, and then we're just gonna deal with it. And like you even see how like easy it got for her to just plan out like what was going on. Like even at the start of like the final episode, when she comes home and she's like, oh, rough day, I'm like, oh right, she just fucking like murdered Theo. Like that happened like 20 minutes ago. Like she's such a cold killer. And maybe she was always that way, because it seems like she killed James, like her first husband, and she's no, I don't know, rookie when it comes to murder. But I feel like throughout the the season, it definitely just shows how like cold and like merciless like she actually is as a person. And like I don't know, like did she become that way because of the season and like dealing with Joe? I feel like it was just underlining personality.
I think because they did that great episode where, and because I was always saying like, when are they going to do this episode? And they kind of cheated, but they still did. I was like, when are they going to do the Love episode where she's the narrator? You know, because I feel like that was prime, and we did get that with her texting 40, his dead phone, and everything like that. And I think that was a great episode. I love that they brought the actor back as 40. It was like a really good, like uncomfortable scene. He's in the bath and they're talking, but like they set up, because that's the question I was going to pose to you. I wonder if 40 was still alive, if Joe would have worked out, because what caught me off guard was they do the seasons in 2 chapters. The first chapter is like right after they moved there, and it's like they're still fighting, they're not really getting along. And then when they have their therapy session, it's like episode, I think, end of 4 or 5, where they jump 6 months and the dynamics completely changed, where they were, Joe and her are happy, but she is like thriving. She has friends, her bakery's kicking off. Like she's like, and they do a good job of like the first few episodes, she's very like dressing frumpy, her hair's always messy, she looks very tired. This one, she's wearing like great clothes, her hair is different. So they do this good job, like she has it all together. That's where I argue against Joe until he said, oh, you put on Love, because the thing is about with Love, he had no idea she was cheating or anything like that, and he just fell right out of love with her again, you know, and he just started falling from Mary and all this stuff and things like that. But I wonder, they really, emphasize, because when she started to flirt with Theo and stuff, I was like, that was the most surprising thing this season to me, because I did not think love would ever fall out of love with Joe in a sense, right? But they set it up the same way how Joe loved the version of love that was the fake love in season 2. She didn't necessarily love Joe. She just, like her mom said, wanted someone to fix. So
Yeah.
the fact that when he was like completely fine, she needed someone else to fix. So that's where I wonder, if they were together but 40 was alive, she'd always have that person to fix in 40, and then Joe would be her husband. So I think it is Joe, but I do actually think it is 40 dying that led her down this path. Like, she was very codependent, and they
Yeah.
set up that 40 was, but she was just as codependent. Like, she needed him. So I think it was a combo of Joe and 40 being gone.
Yeah, and that was a good emphasis that they put light on was yeah, I think when her mom was like just explaining how dependent that she is on like trying to fix people, and like it totally made sense when you have Theo, who, like, his, I don't even know what his relationship was. Like, that wasn't his blood father, right? Didn't
It was a
he say it was a
stepdad.
stepdad?
Oh, it was a
No,
stepdad?
it was a
I
stepdad.
thought,
Yeah.
oh.
No,
Yeah.
that's how much he disliked his own mom.
Yeah, so his stepdad, and then like his stepdad's girlfriend, like Natalie, was that
Yeah.
that relationship? Yeah, so no blood tie there, but like still, Natalie died. His dad is just like becoming an alcoholic, like Schmeagol type character, just obsessed with like scanning the entire town. So like obviously he's going through trauma, so then love is just drawn to that character. And yeah, you mentioned the 40 episode. I love that one, especially when like she was texting him. I'm like, okay, there's gonna be a point when someone reads these or someone replies, and then when it actually was like 40, but obviously like she was just super
She was
wasted that she
drunk,
was
yeah.
seeing stuff. But still, that episode was, I think it was really important for the character, and like just again like showing how much she needed 40, even though he was such a toxic individual, and like not really benefiting her life, but like giving someone to take care of. And yeah, and like the whole dynamic with the baby, and like they're just calling him 40 at the beginning. It kind of blended its way out of there. But yeah, when the mom was just constantly calling him 40, I'm like, fuck, imagine being Joe in that situation.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It's 40 reincarnated, the
And
mom
and you
said.
have to raise him and love him.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they did, like a really good, like right off the bat, he's like pissed it's not a girl, because he's just worried this kid's gonna end up like him. So the fact that it's so funny, because I rewatched season 2 and he's talking about his daughter, and then I knew it was a boy. So I'm like, what happened? Like, did they just forget they made it a girl? And I love that was a plot point of, he really wanted a girl because he was just so scared this kid would end up like him. So when Henry was Henry, he almost like resented the kid for it, because like it's not the kid he wanted. He even talked about, he said like nicely to Love, but I gotta circle back, because Taylor, I can't believe you think that Joe should end up like happily ever after, and just like,
I don't want to say happy, but I wanted to end on a cliffhanger. Not on this even like an open cliffhanger for another season, but I want it to end
you want the
like how
lumberjack
season
ending.
Yeah, he
2.
does.
No, I don't want that. I
Yeah.
want it to end how season 2 ended, in the sense where he doesn't have to have like a kid, a family, a house in the suburbs or anything like that. But I want it to be where he's found whoever, and he's grown through all this development, and he's reached this point in his experiences, I guess, and he's with this person. And I just wanted to cut out where it just shows like he's showing interest in another person. I don't want it to see him get caught. I don't need to see that resolution, because I feel like it could be done great or it could be done wrong. I feel like there's that 50-50, and I have faith in the writers to execute a great ending, but I still worry that there's no 100% certainty that they can execute it flawlessly. And I feel like when you do an ending like that, there's that chance, like, you can give us a great ending of him, like, up to interpretation for the viewer. Did he get caught? Is he gonna like go and find someone else? Is he just gonna live out with this person? I think that's great.
The Dexter ending, though. But that's the Dexter ending where everyone felt really unsatisfied, because like I feel Joe is a character that, okay, sure, he like grew. At the end of the day, the newscaster guy, he's an asshole. He still just murdered him in cold blood just so he could be with Marianne, like just on the street like a mugger, everything like that.
He didn't murder him to be with her, though. He murdered him so that he could have the daughter. No.
No. He did that so Marianne wouldn't leave. That's his main reason. And that's the thing, because that's where he needs to be caught and executed or life in prison. Because the problem with Joe, in a good way, the writing, he still thinks he's a good person, but he's not. Like, he always has these excuses why something happened. He still thinks he's good. He's a literal fucking psychopath. He's a sociopath. And it's like, he needs to be shown everything he's done. That's why I need a moment, whether it's in jail or the court, where they just have everything. And it's like, look at all the people like Beck, Candace, all these innocent people.
I'm not saying he's like a good guy though, but I'm just saying
No,
I
but
want
he
like a
thinks he's
more
a good
open
guy.
ending. Well, I won't deny that. On the terms of like comparing him to Love though, I feel like where he it's a tough line to walk across on how to detail this, because I feel like Love is just remorselessly I don't know how to say that
sound
word.
He lacks remorse.
She's just unconsciously going ahead and killing these individuals,
Yeah,
and
and-
not even killing them. She's just leaving them alive.
But that was Joe. Joe wanted that. Remember, he said, "Don't kill him, lock him up." That was his plan, and that was her growing.
I'm
and that
I'm
showed-
referring to Theo though.
Well, that was DEFCON 5. You had the two guys downstairs. You have Theo, who's found the key, who's clearly is not gonna leave. He's not gonna run away. So she had to. Joe's done the same thing before, where it's like, okay, I gotta take it. Now he does lock them up, but like at the end of the day, they always just end up dead. Like Joe always locks these people up. Other than Will Benheim in season 2, he always locks these people up. And he thinks it's gonna play out, but no. Then you have like Benji from like season 1, who was with Beck. Like at the end of the day, he still just realizes, oh, I gotta kill him. I think the only thing that makes Joe seem like he's in a better light is Love does it first. And she even says that not the only reason, but she says the main reason she was killing people is because she felt he was really trying to change and he couldn't bring himself to do it. So she did it for the both of them. So I guarantee you, most of those people, even if Love wasn't around, there's these problems, Joe would still end up killing them. But because Love does it first, he goes, oh, Love, you're such a bad person.
I don't know.
Like,
I feel like he's more calculated because, like, just take the first
Is it?
kill
No.
on Natalie. Like, come on. Like,
He's definitely more calculated. And
Yeah.
Wolfsbane
Oh
is
my,
by default.
no, he's
That's
not.
Wolfsbane. That's all the evidence and more calculated.
He's not. This is a man who pissed in a jar in Peach's home and left it somewhere. He's not calculated at all. Joe is dumb luck. Like that's what happens. The same thing with
him popping adrenaline to counteract grabbing like the Wolfsbane stuff. That's 100% not dumb luck. That's
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying he's not a smart guy, but I'm saying he has his impulses too, where he'll just attack somebody or stuff like that.
To counter then him being like trying to change and develop. So him stopping himself from pursuing Natalie in her own bedroom and him going back and like confessing and everything like that, and then kind of resolving that, Love still got the best of herself, and she went ahead and killed her out of like pure raw emotion. But Joe backed off.
He did
though.
Lie. Yeah.
He did lie. He lied.
Did he even confess?
But no,
he did confess. He told her that he kissed her.
No, he didn't.
No,
he said they had a drink of wine and that was it. They didn't mention and no, I think because what was it? Didn't he just say right? Because
he said I met the neighbor or something like that.
Yeah, he says he met the neighbor and she went over and I think he just said he talked to her. But then when she goes, oh hey, I've never met your husband before, and she thinks that's kind of odd, and then he says, it's nothing's going on. She says, I know how you are. And he's like, it's not that type of relationship. And then she finds the fucking box, where he's just obsessed with tampons. He always needs a I'm never going to defend tampon guy, he has to get caught.
I wasn't sure what that was. And Shay's like, tampon. I'm like, oh, Joe, I can't like you, man. That's fucked up.
And he's had one with Beck. He's had one with Love. Like I'm sure he had one with Candace. So that's the thing there. He still lied because he said I'm having deja vu right now. It's very strange. But like he lied. And
deja vu of what?
This conversation that we're having, it's a Matrix moment. But like, and literally what Kirklin just said, deja vu. It's so weird right now. But he lied about the box, so she found the stalker like creepy box. So he did lie. He did not confess. He gave 25% of the
swear
truth.
I remember him confessing to the kiss, but I thought that okay. At what point did they resolve
because she finds the box, and that's when she's like, "Oh, he is obsessed with her. Like he loves her." Yeah.
I thought they had resolved that after the fact.
Oh, well, they did once Natalie was dead.
Yeah. Okay, then they just need to resolve that before. It could have been a whole different concept or whatnot, but yeah.
But the whole thing with like Joe like leaving Natalie in that moment, like he like that wouldn't have been the end of his relationship with Natalie, because like he literally made the comment, or maybe it was Natalie that's like, don't you wish you could like bottle this feeling? And like that's literally what he was doing. He was like edging to the point that he's about to bone Natalie, runs home.
He's masturbating in a parking lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Public parking lot.
Oh yeah, that's pretty fucked.
Well, and the other thing though is too that like I think they do it. Like I'm not defending Love because I'm more going against Joe because Taylor's giving him this happy ending. It's like no way. For me, that moment when they're talking about where they're gonna put Natalie's body, and he's like, "Oh, I got the perfect place," and Love figures it out, and he gives some spiel about like, "Oh yeah, I just have to look at places just in case you snap." And that's the good thing about the show. It could be that, but I believe Love 100% that he was already looking at places. So if he had to kill Love, he could dump her just like that. Because she's like, "How did you already have a place for Natalie? And we just like an hour ago talked about we need to find something. Like, how do you know?" It's like I do think he had like plans to eventually get rid of her because like he's done that before, where he'll just like go like he legitimately was already like if you watch the recap of season 2, he was gonna kill Love before she said she was pregnant. So it's like he was already like set to
Because
get
he's
rid of her.
calculated.
And she even makes that comment, like you had like a spike to my neck before.
Yes.
And then like if I didn't have this baby, like I would literally just be dead somewhere right now, and that's a fucked up dynamic.
Oh yeah. Let's take our second ad break and talk about some more fucked up dynamics after this. All right, we're back. Where do we want to go? Oh, anyways, because Kirklin hasn't really said, so I want to lay out my points and then I'll ask him. So why I think he will get caught, and whether that's next season, the year after, is every season they leave some people alive, and that's why I think you'll get a season or a lot of episodes of an actual court. Because in season 1, you have the John Stamos, who Beck was sleeping with, if you remember that, and then there's a private detective that they've hired as well to look after Joe. And the thing is, like, when the book of Beck comes out, he throws in the garbage. He's like, "That's bullshit." He doesn't believe it. So there's 2 people there. Season 2, you have Ellie, like that, which is so funny. I didn't even think about that. But like, you have her, and then Delilah. You guys might not remember her, but she was Ellie's sister, and she was having like sleeping with that cop who also was suspicious of Joe. And then in this season, you have Theo and her dad. Theo and his dad, and then the influencers. Every season to me, they're specifically leaving multiple people alive to be the eyewitness, to be the that's where I think you're gonna have that moment where Joe will completely go into the trial thinking, "Oh, I can get past this, people understand me." And then I think at the end, once he hears everybody talk and sees it all together, I think he will finally realize, because he always has these realizations about other people being bad, like Love, but he does think he makes mistakes, but to him it's just like they're just mistakes and he can get better. But he doesn't realize like he's killed probably dozens of innocent people now, like tons of people. And it doesn't matter if Love did it, it's still like he helped. So the fact that I feel like if you could have all these characters really lay it out to him, and then she'll like look at everything you've done, and him finally realize like, "Oh no, like I'm the bad, like I'm the
Yeah, I don't
villain of
think
the
he will
story."
though. I think that's just a narcissistic trait of being like a sociopath like that.
Well, and then that's what I want to see. I want to see him go through all that, and if he still can
Yeah.
somehow spin it. But like, I don't know. So where are you, Kirkland, on as far as like where should Joe end up now? Because now he's on the run. He's Nick now. He's in France and he's looking for Marianne. Nick is his new name. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like partly agreeing with you that I felt like this could have been like a good finish to his story, but also not really, because he's still just like hunting people down. Like I feel like, again, call the Dexter out what you will, like maybe the viewers like think he dies or something, and then you just see him like working at a bookstore or something. And like not even necessarily you have to have like someone come in. It's like, "And then I saw you," because like that's such an easy way to just start the next season. Like just
Yeah.
not even have that. Just have him like working on his books or something, and then it rolls to credits. But again, that kind of gives him a happy ending. You brought up a great point though, Travis, with like all these people that they are keeping alive. And like supposedly he's dead now. Like he literally faked his death. He has his DNA evidence at the crime scene. But a part of me is still like, okay, well, there's still Ellie. That's her name, right?
Yeah.
Like Ellie's out there. Like she was kind of not really in contact with Joe, but she knew that he was out there somewhere. The cop wasn't even mentioned in this entire season. I completely forgot about him, honestly, until you mentioned him. And yeah, just like you said, there's people in each season that could form a Guardians of the Multiverse type team to take down Joe,
And there's one, and it has to come back, or Dylan's gonna say that I was wrong the whole time. But he hated this plot point in season 1. But that piss in Peaches Salander's house it has to come back and bite him in the ass. I'm telling you, they did that. I told Dylan,
That'll
I'm
be the
like,
nail in
what?
the coffin. And what's
I'm,
this?
that's what I literally think it will be. That it'll be like you can't place him at this one spot, and they'll be like they'll look at it and they'll find this piss and it'll be over for him. I said to Dylan, I'm like, watch, it's gonna come back, and that's gonna be part of how he gets caught. And also though, like he mentioned in season 2, he brings it up again in season 3. So they're constantly reminding us that there is like a pee jar at her place that they haven't like maybe moved. So that's why I do think that has to come back, because I
Yeah.
just worry you might get the Dexter thing where, maybe there's some people that like you that want that, but I feel like when you leave some of these characters very open ended, it's kind of like what Kirklin says. I feel like you just set it for people being like, oh well, we need another season, and look at where we are with Dexter. It took so long for to actually like win the fans back. It's like, okay, well, we'll do a season to fix it. Like even the producers are saying like, yeah, we're doing this because it wasn't a satisfying ending, and I feel he has to get caught or killed or something. I don't know if they do a time jump now and his son gets older, but
It's literally just Dexter Harrison.
it might
shows up.
be like
Dad. Just on that note of there possibly being a time jump, that might be an interesting like plot thing though, how like Joe's so scared that his son is going to be someone like him, and then if it does go that route. But again, I haven't seen the new Dexter obviously because it's not out yet, but maybe that'll be what Dexter
Yes.
is. Yeah, you mentioning or shining more light on the piss jar. If that is never touched upon, I honestly think it brings down the entire show like
I
quite
agree,
a bit,
yeah.
because they showed or like emphasis on it, right? Like at the end of season 1, they were like packaging up things, weren't they? Like the
I think something
investigators?
like that, yeah.
Yeah, so it's got to happen, and if it doesn't, then it'll suck because it'll bring down the show, and no matter how satisfying the ending is, it'll still be like, why the fuck did they show that, and why the hell did he do that? And they just like it's just a missed opportunity. So
Well, and that's my worry of it going, because to me it reminds me a lot of Dexter. Is like Dexter got so popular for Showtime, that's why like supposedly it seems like they kept putting more seasons in the show, because it's like, well, people love this show, so let's start going. And if you look at Netflix too, they have this thing where after 3 seasons, actors' contracts get more expensive. That's why if you look at a lot of Netflix shows, they end at like season 3 or before that. So the fact that even before season 3 dropped, that they announced it, that is my worry, that it's like, okay. And I even sometimes feel that, like with Stranger Things, where I look at that, I go, okay, is there much like gas left in the tank here? Is it just because it's Stranger Things? So I just don't want that with you. I don't want it to get so, because like, okay, if he goes to this American, because we know the Marion thing's not going to work out. Maybe Taylor's right, but I just don't think it will. Something will happen, and then what does next season end with? It's you again. I guess the only mileage you could get out of it to me is if you get this season and he were like arrested at the end of the season or something like that, and season 5 was literally maybe him actually like really on the run, or it was his trial. I just feel like if they keep going with just another you, it will reach the point, because like Marion didn't reach the repetitiveness for me, but it got to the point where it's like, okay, to me this is the last like you I kind of want, because I feel like if I get one more, it will reach that threshold of like, okay, I've seen enough, and I think we've done everything you can, unless they make it a dude, and that would be like the only change up, where it's like, oh, okay, he's maybe that could be a thing, like, oh, women aren't working for me, but
and like I think that's like the whole possible repetitiveness of like Marianne being the new obsession. I think that's honestly what made this season so special for me. And like at parts, I kind of forgot that it was already confirmed we were getting a new season. Because as I was watching it, I'm like, I don't think anyone's safe in the show, and like that's
No.
including Joe. Honestly,
Yeah.
there was moments that I'm like, Love is gonna fucking chop his nuts off and kill him. Like this is gonna happen.
You could have
And
easily done a season 4 of like you with her as the lead. You easily could have done that.
And you mentioned like when the torch was going to be passed and she was going to be narrating. When that moment happened, I think it was like episode 5, and like she's narrating it. I'm like, this is so great. Like I love the transition period. It was like halfway through the season. Like she's she's Love, so she's kind of crazy, but at the same time, in the beginning, she's just mostly focusing on her son and just trying to like settle things down. But then once she starts just whacking people off and like getting good at it and like having no remorse, like it's not like she murdered someone. It's like, oh my god, what happened? It's just like that happened. Oh, okay, what are we having for dinner? Got to focus on my business. Like she was so cold, and then she started narrating. Part of me was like, I think she's going to be the new protagonist after this, and I don't know how that would do if they did a season like with her. Obviously, we're not getting that now, but especially going into the finale for this season, I'm like, I don't even know if Joe's going to make it out. And then I kind of got reminded, it's like, oh yeah, season 4 is announced. So Joe probably will.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. Like, I would have loved to seen that experiment of him dying and her, like, because I will be interested to see because if he doesn't get arrested or stuff like that, like for me, I got to see how the Marion season is because to me, there's a really good chance that the Love season 4 would have been more interesting than what we could get with him and France and Marion. I don't know that for a fact. I'll have to see how it plays out, but because he's an interesting character, but she's just as interesting, if not a little bit more, in this season particularly, and that's where because he gets with Marion, it is good, but it's like he gets back. It's very similar to Beck. He gets back in that she's just perfect, she's flawed, all this stuff. So with her though, it's just like she's a powder keg, and you don't know she's so unpredictable. You don't know what's gonna happen.
I think like all the like that would be amazing to see for sure. I still think it's tough to have her as a protagonist. It's funny that we're just like hypothetically talking about these things even though she's already dead, because like the whole idea of the show is you and like him being obsessed with you. Like I can't imagine Love finding an obsession with like someone like that and narrating to herself, oh, until I saw you, and then just gets all upset. Like, because I feel like that's
Yeah.
the whole, like that's a reoccurring theme of the show is when he has that inner dialogue, like, look at you, you're perfect. Oh, all these problems that I deal with my wife and my son, it's all because it's like it makes it so easy just to get to you.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be getting more of that in the next
Yeah,
season.
I think you could find a way because between James, Joe, and Theo, you see how she latches on to people, right? And that's where maybe you could give the show some freshness. But it is that thing of also, I feel like you would feel a little cheated out of Joe's journey because, like, I guess like you could have just had Love kill him, and that could have been like the end of the show because it would have been like,
Yeah,
well, it's not like he doesn't deserve it, and stuff. But I
absolutely.
love the turn at the like, I loved all the stuff at the end when they are like really just like outsmarting one another, the dinner dynamic and everything like that, where like, oh well, you're in love with her, and then he's like, oh, you cheated on me with Theo, and she didn't even know that he knew that. And I love that it just progresses to like she knocks him out just to like save the marriage, just so they could talk to like she's gonna kill them, but they not redeem her, but they do such a good job. It was like her last line of the show is like, "We're perfect for each other, but we're terrible for Henry," and that was to me a redeeming moment of her being like, no matter what happens, like he deserves better than us, like whatever. He's a good kid. We brought him in this world. Like you can't be with him. So, and I almost feel like near the end, she kind of felt that about herself too, of like, I wonder
Yeah,
what would happen if she would have won, but I feel like she had this moment of clarity of no matter, how she feels about what happened, she knows that they aren't good parents in the way that this kid
yeah,
needs it. And I liked that because it gave her, like I said, not a redeeming moment, but it gave her, a Darth Vader moment of like, oh, I want to see my son. So, it was like, it gave her a good moment for someone that maybe at one point was a good person, just had a fucked up childhood.
I still think that's like two comparisons that you can make with Joe and Love is they both like maybe didn't want to admit that they were in the wrong because like Joe is just
Yeah.
so like narcissistic. It's just like, oh, I'm doing all this and it's just the way it is and it's all fine. Love, I think that way when like she's literally just murdering people and like has no remorse. And like whenever Joe kind of freaks out on her, like she just deflects. She's never like, oh yeah, maybe I did go a little crazy
Yeah.
and just axe Natalie. It's always just like, well, you fucked her. This is the like you killed her. It's just like, no, he didn't. Like there's like you
Yeah.
can't make that argument in that instance. And then near the end of the show, like literally in the finale, you just gave that dialogue of her being like, we're terrible for Henry. And I think they both knew that, honestly. And it
Mhm.
goes to show when Joe gave away Henry to really loving parents. So it's a happy ending maybe for Henry if he never finds out about his dad and his
Yeah.
mom.
Well, no matter what he's gonna find out though, because she left that note, right? So she's like a public figure as far as like it's on record of all her doing
Oh,
this
that's
crazy
right.
shit,
Yeah.
right?
It's a public
Joe,
case. Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
Joe left the note in like Love's honor or whatever, like whatever to
Right.
set her up. I love how even in the note though, like that's how Joe's just such a fucking scumbag though, of like, oh, and I made my husband go along with it all. Like he's making himself dead. He's putting his toes in a pie to say he's dead, and he still can't even like admit to some of the stuff. He's like, yeah, and like he was almost completely innocent. I made him do everything. It's like, fuck off, Joe. Like all these things you've done, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty much what I said in season 2, where it's funny where he was in love with Love, but then once he found out the way she was, he didn't love her anymore because she was like him, right? But really, again, if they were just to buckle down and figure it the fuck out, they are perfect for one another in the sense of like they have have the same problems, they have the same goals, but it's just they just can't get out on the same page. And when she says that line, like, we're perfect for each other, it is. If Joe would have just bought in season 2, like, this is the perfect woman for Joe, but because she's a monster and he doesn't want to be a monster, he can't do it. But even though he is a monster, like, he just won't admit it. Like, if he could just admit he's similar to her, but and they had those moments with the therapy and whatnot, but eventually they still broke apart. And
it's probably tough for him to see someone that's like literally like him. So it's like, oh, that person's fucked up. I know I'm not fucked up. So it's just weird to see that person.
Because like they emphasize that again, where when they who is it that they kill? Or no, they just when they lock up the Sherry and Terry, or what's his name?
Sherry and Carrie.
Sherry and Carrie, when they lock them up, he's completely in love with Marianne. There's no signs of trouble there. But when they do that, they both like get on very passionately, and they both admit it was the best sex they ever had. So it's like that didn't really fit Joe. Like, it did fit Joe, but it didn't fit of like he's in love. Like, he's said many times he has like almost no feelings for love whatsoever, and he's completely all about Marianne. But then they have this very passionate thing. So it's like, well, clearly there's still something there. And this is after, and he even says like, oh, like, love doesn't bring us together, violence does. And it's like, so again, there's clearly that they should have been together, but they're just it's just too much for both of them, I guess, you know.
That's a good point. I felt like in my head I had too much emphasis on like the Marianne obsession, because it's not even like he was just thinking about Marianne in that moment. It was just like, that was fucking crazy. Let's just do this. Or maybe it was the whatever Carrie gave him. It's like what did he even give him? Like adrenaline or something? I don't know.
Something like that. Yeah. And we saw both, like, and like I said, I was surprised, but they did a good job of setting up Love and the way she was with the guys, and she needed someone to fix. But there's that great sex scene too when they're both having sex with each other, and it's like great sex, but they're both thinking of different people.
Yeah,
and it just shows like how far they are. But again, that's where I like that last scene, because they weren't doing that. They weren't thinking about different people. They were thinking about each other. So it's like they probably just should have committed to both being killers, and they probably could have been happier and maybe got away with more. But they both were trying to be good people.
If it like maybe accept each other for like kind of how fucked up they are, and like be in an open relationship, like I felt like we were even like taking steps towards that with the swingers episode, which was just golden. That was a golden episode. But yeah.
I was gonna say,
I got nothing. You guys covered it all. Shit. I got nothing to add.
Well, you talk about, because you said you just hate her. You talk about LA, or talk about the Suburban a little bit, but talk about Carrie and Sherry and all the kind of side characters we meet this season.
Well, again, I'm glad they got it. They got out. Like, I'm really happy.
Yeah, they didn't deserve to die.
Did you think they were gonna die? I was like, how the fuck are they gonna get out of this?
No, I thought he might. I thought he might.
Especially when he's bleeding out near the end.
Yeah, he was not looking good.
No, I didn't think they were, only because like the keys, I just felt like, okay, these are going to come into play. We got 10 minutes left in this episode. They haven't come into play yet. It's going to be this factor here.
A big thing I think that they emphasize on these two people, on like literally probably what saved them, was the fact that they had kids. I think that was a really good thing, because both of their supposedly killers, whether it's Joe or Love, like they also have a child, so it's something to think about. I don't know if Joe thinks about that too much. I think Love definitely got caught up on that fact, because she seemed torn like every time that she would go and talk to them.
Sorry, you sound like you're gonna say more.
Sorry, no. I added a period. Oh, my bad.
I mean, them getting out, I think, was great. They're dynamic, and them just kind of like coming together closer when they were in that cell, I think was really, really good. And that kind of made me really enjoy their characters a lot more, because what I didn't like kind of in the previous episodes from them, and what was emanating off of them, it just was great to see it get violent and kind of form this reconciliation between the two of them, and end with them just rekindling why they got together in the first place. And I really liked how it came full circle for them, and it made me like them as a lot more as characters.
That was a really good scene, because like you introduce these characters, they have kids, but whatever. Like I really despise, like I love them on screen for what they were showing us, but also they're just like, fuck, these people are annoying, and like they gotta die at some point, especially with how much like both Love and Joe just like hated them. I feel like Love kind of had a weird relationship with like Sherry, where like it was like her best friend, but also she just hated everything that she stood for. But that moment when they're in the box and like they kind of talk about the relationship and they get really emotional, it's like, man, like I'm really rooting for them now. I hope they find a way to get out of this box because I don't know, it humanized them, right? It's not like they're just these plasticky influencer type people. And yeah, that was an important moment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I really like that because she even like Joe puts it in Love's letter, but still they're like, oh, and I locked these people in there so they could see themselves for who they truly were. But like it kind of had like the way Jigsaw and he puts people in traps, and it's like if you survive, you're better for it, and that's what that vibe had. Because I just love that scene of at first it's deteriorating, they're hating each other. She accidentally shoots him, he accidentally shoots her ear off, like all this stuff. Like it is that kind of going down that road of like, oh, these people are just gonna eat each other. But then when they just go back to like why they fell in love with each other and that's all that mattered, it made these characters mean something. It gave them just like an attachment that you wouldn't have had at all. And that's what they do such a good job of the show, where at first like, okay, this is going to be just the gimmicky kind of fun character that's annoying for us to hate, but at the end of the day they make them redeemable and they make them like humans again, and you are rooting for them. That's the best thing, when they made these characters completely annoying. And the show constantly does a good job. Like it's like a good mix of like Gone Girl and like Desperate Housewives, where Joe and Love are the protagonists and they're the villains of the story. But so many times you want them to kill people or you want them to get away with it because they're the characters we like and we're following them. But then you're like, no, like Sherry might be so annoying, but it's like, you can't, like, we can't kill her. Like she's still like a person. And so I love those shows always making a good job of you feeling like you're with Joe and Love and you're going for them, like even with Joe. And again, like I said, I really liked where they ended up and that they kind of got back to, they didn't care about the Botox or the, you know, the blogs or the sex, you know, swingers things, the NDA signings, all this stuff. It was just back to like, why? Because, oh, you're smart. Why? Because you were super smart. Like not smart as me. And they're like joking while they're dying. Just really good stuff. You know, it was the rest of the people in the neighborhood didn't really have, like, they were just kind of caricatures. Like they had other friends, but they weren't really that important. But that was fun. I didn't need more of them.
Sherry and Carrie were like the main side characters.
Yeah.
So they were good. Just people to interact with Joe and Love in this season. And hey, they even like were able to profit off their situation. They sold a book. They're doing TED Talks. So that was, that was great.
And just, oh, go ahead.
Where are you going to go?
Oh, I was just gonna show out the Joe camping thing before.
Oh,
I wasn't sure if we were moving on from them. But
I was gonna emphasize just the whole character of Carrie. He was my favorite addition to the season. He was so funny to watch, and like I mentioned in the spoiler-free section, I kind of forgot how comedic the show can get. I feel like this season in particular, especially just with like the character of Carrie, like he was just so hilarious, especially when they're camping. They got like no shirts on. Like first rule is like we only eat what we kill, and then you'll hear the rest of the rules at dusk. He just like runs off into the woods, and I'm like, this is so great. Like just like throughout, it was like a comedy, and then you forget how like intense the show can be once he starts murdering people, and then his like near-death experience, and he literally rises from the ashes like a phoenix. Holy shit. I can't die. I've been taking whatever that was for 10 years. It's just like a supplement. All of his lines were just so good. And I love the way that he interacted with Joe, Love, and even just the other dude bros that were like obsessed with him.
Yeah.
His goat calls, or not goat calls, deer calls. That's what really got me doing. And it's like his stance. And he's like, yeah, this doe came out of the woods and nuzzled my cock. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about?
Oh, he's so good. And I'm glad that he didn't die, because potentially we'll see more of him, right? I don't think we'll like to the full extent of what we got in this season. Might just be a court thing and probably not too comedic, but all in all,
I want the trial episode though, sharing Carrie, because you'll get some comedy in there. And man, it was it was good. Like on a rewatch, I'll be excited to watch them again. And they both did a really good job, like actors wise, because it's just it is sometimes still hard to pull off the being really super annoying, and they did such a good job throughout.
Yeah, so like you mentioned the camping episode and the swingers episode. Holy fuck, Carrie just stole the show again. Like when you just like strips ass naked, he's just beaten off in front of the mirror. He's like, quit staring, grab that mirror.
Dude, I said no phones, and he like starts to chase him, and he's and then like he goes to chase him, but he catches his reflection in the mirror, so he goes back to jerking off. Yeah, and just his like whole kit and everything. Yeah, it's a
Dude,
they
he's so good.
lots of great comedy with them. I guess we should probably talk about the two other live interests. So let's talk about Marion and then let's talk about Theo. Marion, I
Yeah.
don't have much to say on her. I think they did a good job of the actress was good and I'd say charismatic. They had a good chemistry. They had a good job writing wise of setting up why Joe would like her. They even set up like Joe realizes he has a pattern, even though he falls for it again. So that's why I disagree with you, Taylor, that like he's not changed that much. Like he's like, oh, this is a pattern. I can't go this right. Like I love that moment when he
But he
starts.
stopped the box though. He didn't
He
do a
stopped the
box
what?
for her. He didn't do a box for her.
Yeah, because it hasn't
Well,
gone bad yet. He was knocked down on the ground
yeah,
when
that
she
was
was
the early
leaving.
stages when he's like catching himself, and then he just fully fledged jumped into the pool.
Yeah, and
With the
I like
obsession.
that when he went to go steal her necklace and he like let it go and he's like, "What am I doing?"
Yeah.
and stuff. But it's like, yeah, I feel like if he finds her in France, there's gonna be a fucking box, of like baguettes and whatever, what do you eat? Croissants, Taylor? Your
Croissants, not croissants.
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 Yeah. Get
Marianne
your
made
American
croissants.
accent out of here.
And they had the kid aspect. So I liked all of it. The library stuff I just kind of knew right away. Like, okay. Like I said, I appreciate it. I thought Natalie was going to be the U. So when they killed her off first episode, I was like, okay, good. They switched it up, but we didn't meet the new U till later on in the season. But I liked Dante. I liked everything about it. Like, not like, oh, it's the best part of the show, but it worked. It all worked for me.
Yeah, I really liked Marianne. I thought the actress was phenomenal as her. There's some emotional scenes where she was just killing like all the acting in those moments. I've only ever seen her in Sabrina. She was really good in that show. She was
Oh, okay.
Prudence. And yeah, that's the only thing I've seen her in. But I think she showed her chops in this show, and I'm hopeful to see more of her. And I guess we'll see her in the new season if
Yep.
Joe finds her.
Oh, he's gonna find her. Whether I guarantee he's gonna find her, and she'll probably have a boyfriend too, and that's gonna cause some issues. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No,
And I don't even
absolutely.
know how do you lead, like he's gonna say like I had to fake my death to get out of there. Like
Bonjour.
it's gonna be an interesting conversation. And like again, I feel like she should know it's a red flag. She's just gonna bump into him in France where she said she would go. It's like right away you'd be like, dude, like this is
And
fucking
Love even
crazy.
told her that he obsesses over people. So it's like
Yes.
if she just finds him in France, Paris, and I'm
I think
assuming
that
she
you
saw the
could
news
spin
article.
that.
Of,
You
like,
could spin that. The news
yeah,
article
dead.
paints Love as the villain and the murder.
But he's supposed to be
right?
dead. He's
Yeah,
He's
but
supposed to be dead.
yeah,
And
but
she lied to
you
Marianne
could
too, remember? He said they were separating and she like he completely lied to her already.
yeah,
So
but that just goes to show like okay, he wanted to separate and she went crazy, killed him, explosion, everything. I feel like you could spin it like how many real life like murder victims, survivors that are like portrayed as dead by the media act like probably wouldn't want to be publicized as like, hey, I survived, unless they're like a Sherry and Carrie thing where they
But
want
like
to
Kirklin
make
said,
money
he
off of it.
also faked his death. So that's where it gets in like, why didn't you go to the police if you're so innocent? That's where it gets a
no,
little
but that's
strange.
where it could have been like, oh, like they found me and like they have resuscitated me and like
Nice.
I'm
They
back.
used my
I just
toes and cloned me.
yeah,
I'm the
like
new Joe.
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that could be survived victims that the media doesn't address. Maybe
I
that's something they didn't address.
I think the way that they would tackle it is if Marion goes like off the handle and like starts because she's already been shown to like have addiction issues. Like maybe if she's just going off the wagon and then she just really hates herself and then randomly like Joe is because he's a
Yeah.
manipulator. He's able to play upon like her
That could
weakness
work well.
and like
Yeah.
make her
His
kind of like come
her
to him.
genie out of a bottle.
Yeah, so I feel like that would be a way. And they just showed a lot of emphasis on her whole addiction stuff. So
Yeah, and know what I would like if we do have to get a fifth season. Like I said, my pitch is that's the court trial. I think Kirkland that's a great idea as far as he finds her when she's bottom of the barrel, so that helps him like sneak his way in. But I would love like when she gets clean and sober and kind of has like a come to Jesus that she's the one that turns him in, and like there's no like he kills or nothing like
it'd be
that. Like that,
heartbreaking.
like it looks like he's gonna be happy and stuff like that. And she like he comes home and there's fucking just police there waiting, and he's like. He's fucked. Like, there's no way out of it. Like, I would absolutely love that to give her to be the one. Like, because I also
Yeah.
think that would be fitting too. Like, he shouldn't just get caught. He should get caught by one of these people that he's fucking with, and that'd be great if like
Yeah.
he's manipulating her and she's just like, you know what? I like because right away, eventually, she even once she gets sober, and be like, yeah, it is kind of fucked up that he faked his death. Like, this is kind of weird, like.
I could definitely see her turning him in if that's the route they bring her into this next season. I don't see her going down the route of like relapsing. I feel like this season of her just getting her daughter and just coming out on top and really dominating her lad, I think that just changes. And for her daughter, I don't think she's going to go down that route.
And she doesn't have Ryan like glooming over her, right? So that's
Yeah.
Who knows what happens though? Next time we might meet her might be a year. Crazy stuff happens in France, right, Taylor? You never know. All could happen. Like,
Baguettes.
yeah, what if he bumps into her and she's like her kid has died, and that's why she's all like, you don't know what the show could do. The show could do fucking anything, right?
That's
So it's
true.
just like, and that could, to me, if the kid was out of the picture, that would almost make it even more possible for Joe to like sneak in there, because he could also be like, oh, and I lost Henry too. And I understand how it feels, even though he doesn't, because like I did, like when he did leave Henry, he did look upset, but I don't think it's almost upset like because he loved Henry. It's just more the idea of Henry, and he had it. Like I love that moment when everything's burning around him and Love's body's about to go on fire, and he's looking at their wedding photos. And again, like we talked about earlier, he fucking had what he wanted. He had the kid, he had the lady, but just because it wasn't exactly what he pictured, it didn't work for him. But he had everything, he had that life. So I feel like him, when he left Henry, was more just like sad of like, oh, I gotta start over again. Not so much like he did bond
Eh,
with Henry for sure, but I like you said though, Kirkland, near the end, lots of characters would be bringing up their son, their daughter, this, that. He bring up like everyone. It's usually in a fight when he'd throw something in Love's face about Henry, you know, but he did bond with
Yeah.
Henry. I will say that.
Yeah,
He did.
I think he really grew to love Henry, honestly, and like, you can make the argument of he loved the idea of what Henry was, always wanted a daughter, but I think they showed enough moments of like the two of them kind of bonding that he like, because in the beginning of the episode he like despised Henry.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, why do you fucking hate me? Like he just knows that I'm a creep or something like that. And he just absolutely despised him, and probably the main reason was because he could see like potentially him growing up to be like himself.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. I think the emotional, like Joe's in tears. He even did that like look back,
Yeah.
like the movie cliche thing. Look back one more time. But I don't know. I think I bought the love for his child, at least by the end of the show. In the beginning, he could have just tossed him over a fence maybe and went on with his day. But
Yeah. And the other point too, just like when he looks at those wedding photos and you think of everything that's gone down, just like, man, it's such a fucking tragic story. Like when you really look at everything that happened, it's just like sad. And but you know, that's what happens when these kind of monsters get together.
absolutely.
Let's take what probably might be our last ad break. We'll talk about Theo, like we said, and then we'll shout some last things and you'll get a rating from us. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So Taylor Field, how did you feel about Theo? Obviously, we met Natalie a little bit. We could kind of talk about that whole family there. The dad. Oh, what was his name? Was it Martin or
Matthew?
Matthew. Thank you. So you got the dad. You got Natalie, who one episode, one and done. R.I.P. And then you got Theo, who was obsessed with love. Who I will say before you go, it very much bugged me that they were portraying her as the older woman, because Victoria, she's a bombshell. She fucking still looks like she just graduated or something like that. Like she does not look old. So they're trying to like spruce her up with like her hair and makeup and stuff like that to make her seem older. I was like, this isn't really working. And the funny thing is, this actor that plays Theo is 1 year older than her.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, he's 27, she's 26. So it's just like, I think it's tough because obviously they're trying to portray him as like in college. So I get what they're going for. You don't want to get an actual underage actor to play him. But I think that like, the good thing is that actor looks young. I guess she just didn't look old enough to me to like, she's 26 and they're trying to portray her like she's the cougar. It's like, no, she's a young lady. Like she's our age, you know, or like she's your guys' age, you know. And so that's the only thing about it I didn't buy. Other than that, I liked all their chemistry and stuff. But
I think I bought her enough because Theo just had that like young guy look to him. He looked younger, and like I'm not thinking that Love is old. I'm just thinking that she's a mom and married, and
but she many times is like, find someone your own age, and it's like, well, you
that's
are
a
his
good
own
point.
age.
I forgot about that line. I'm older than you.
Well,
Yeah,
you're
like,
bringing reality into it, though.
No, I know, but that's what I mean. For me, it's reality. But when you see her, she doesn't like whatever they're trying to. How do you think they're trying to portray how old she is, Taylor? Like in your mind, what do you think Love's supposed to be?
I took her probably like 28.
Okay, so she's 2 years younger than that. So they're trying to portray this guy as like, if he's in college, what, like 22, 21 or something like that?
Oh, he'd probably be like a freshman, so probably like 21.
Yeah, so like, okay, it's like 5-6 years, but it's like, that's not like a huge jump. And even then, like, because I guess it's just because they talked about the age a lot when he's like, he made some joke about the 80s and she's like, I'm not that old. So
Yeah,
it's like,
she calls him out.
Yeah, but then I think for me that was, I get what they're going for, but I just I think she just didn't look old enough for me. But did you like Theo and the family?
I did. On that note, though, about her age, like she even made a point of saying, like, I had a kid like too young, even, and like married young. Like she made a point of saying that in one
Yeah.
of the earlier episodes. So, but I mean, I never kind of went over my head. I just saw her, like you said, Kirkland, like a mom, wife, and just kind of she fit that narrative. And uh, as far as Theo goes, I really, really liked him in this show. I don't know what it was. I just think he did a great job. Just kind of,
You mentioned he's in Halloween, right?
yeah.
Yes.
Isn't he also in the Eternals?
No.
Oh, okay. I saw a poster and I swear I swear. Never mind. Ignore me. Sorry, Taylor.
Might have to
Big
sneak
month
him
for
though.
Dylan here.
Sneak him on the superhero draft. But
yeah, exactly. He's not
I
even
do.
casted.
He's not even. I do think he delivered a fantastic. He executed that role very, very well. Him just kind of obsessing over her, and I really thought where they were going to go with it was that she was going to kind of use him further as kind of like her henchman, kind of like not just to get more information, but just kind of use him just to kind of like put the blame on him or something. But no, when he, the fire extinguisher to the face is like, what a turn of events. But I quite enjoy that dynamic. I felt really sorry for him because he was emotionally compromised because of his stepmom, and I don't even know if that would qualify as a stepmom. Like if your stepdad's
Yeah, it's a
partner
stepmom.
would be a stepmom, is that how that would work?
Well,
Because
technically, he's a stepdad, so
wouldn't your stepmom be your biological dad's wife?
you can have two stepmoms. Say we have two grandmas. Different sides, right?
I guess, but that's still blood related. Anyways,
I
weird
think he just
dynamic.
calls her Natalie.
Yeah.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
But again, I like how he was compromised from that, and she just took total advantage of it. And
She
Yeah.
did take advantage of it, all right.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I would say there's always sex in these seasons, but this season had the most amount of sex. There's just random stuff of like all of a sudden Theo's getting a blowjob on the pool patio and stuff like there. It was very basic instigate. There was sex like every episode and lots of it. So bravo
Mhm.
team.
That
Bravo,
poolside fiasco. Now that's like a jealousy play, is it not?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, okay. I
Yeah.
gotcha.
No, he was just happened to be there. No, because the next day he's like, "Why
Just
won't you talk to me? Why won't you talk to me? You're not returning my texts and stuff like that." So any thoughts on the family there? Kirkland, Theo, Dad, Natalie.
Yeah, I'm not to be too negative here. I don't know who the actor is that played Matthew, but I really didn't like his performance as the
Scott
character.
Speedman.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I just thought the moments that he like, to be fair, he was very like just scatterbrained because he's got a lot going on. He's trying to find his girlfriend, wife, whatever the relation. I think it was wife, right, Natalie?
Yeah.
They're married. Yeah. So like, what's this?
Oh, nothing. I just know Taylor recommends you recognize Scott Speedman from something, don't you?
Oh, I do. I'm trying to remember what though.
He's
gotta
in
look
one of
into
your
this.
big favorite franchises.
Don't tell Kirkland. Don't tell Kirkland yet.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like his performance, and like when he's just going off the handle and like comes up to Joe a couple times and just trying to be intimidating. I don't know. I just didn't really like his performance of the character. But Theo, I thought for one, his acting was great. I was like really just hating on the character because he was doing well as the role, so that was good. And again, like I just felt bad for him. Like he's just obviously his biological mother is just like terrible. His stepdad is going through shit. Natalie's gone. And he's just trying to find love and like just literally became obsessed with love near the end, and she just completely betrayed him. So it's just like such a sad time for that guy, but oh, Underworld.
That was
Oh, that's
scary. I don't like
right.
that photo on the right is fucking creepy. Like I don't like using that.
Dude,
But
I
yeah,
forgot
He's a
he was
hybrid.
hybrid. Oh, that's so
Yeah.
funny. I
Mhm.
found him very bland in that show too. So there you go.
he is. He's a very like white vanilla guy. Like he's the guy they would have cast for Captain America in like the '90s movies. Like
Yeah. So but yeah, no, sorry. Just getting back to Theo. I'm really glad that he lived because it's like at least some like saving grace
Yeah.
with and like even was it Joe that when he was narrating near the end, it's like once my family left, then Madre Libra, whatever the town was called, like started getting like started healing again or like getting back to normal, whatever normal is for
Well,
that
yeah, because they're
suburbia town.
fucking cancer, like
Yeah, so I'm really glad that he lived because I thought he was just gone
yeah.
when Love murked him. And for a lot of the show, I'm like, okay, both Love and Joe literally have like insta kill. Like they are just every time they
Oh
touch
yeah.
someone, they just murk them and like they're
Not
dead.
Love.
Like who
And
was the guy with the
well,
unvaccinated kid? She just took that guy out right away with
Gil,
the
Mm.
Gil. He just and that was
yeah,
quite the box there. Like I did actually like the little twist that he ended up killing himself. It was like so I was not expecting that. And then when they just see it on the
yeah.
monitor and they freak, I'm like, what's going on? It's like,
Well,
oh man, he's just dead.
at the
Shit.
start of the episode, I had the disclaimer of like
Yes.
suicide something. So, and when it happened, I think I kind of forgot about the disclaimer. So yeah, it
Oh
did
yeah.
catch me off by surprise.
I forgot because that's the night my internet went out. So I went out right in the middle of episode 4. So by the time I actually saw Gil take his own life, I was like, oh, right. That was this thing. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, that was clever. But again, that's the same thing with the box. It's like now we've seen people locked in there to get the key. We've seen someone kill himself. Same thing. It's like that's going to start running out of ideas, I feel like, too, right? It's just like eventually all these stuff that you use in the show, you've reached the point where everything interesting can happen with it. So we'll see. Same thing, I guess, in France, he'll have a box, but I don't know how that's going to happen. Like in this one, he took the box from his crate in season 2 to here. So it's like I guess in France, he's going to have a apartment. Like I don't think he's that liquid right now. So I don't know what money he would have to have a house or
Selling
anything.
books.
Yeah. Still and selling books as always. But yeah. And I'm happy that's
That's
not
who I
him.
thought. That's
That's not
There he is,
He
confirmed.
kind of looks like he's got the same eyes.
kind of, yeah. But yeah, no, and I'm glad the dad survived too, because there was a nice father-son moment near the end and everything
See,
like that. So
and like when he survived, it's just like, oh, we're good again. And like, I don't know. I didn't buy the whole because I felt like he was just going full wacko, and then all of a sudden he's just okay. I'm good now.
well, because he got his
And I'm fine.
answers. He didn't know what happened to his wife. He got the answers to what happened to his wife.
Fair enough.
These fucking crazy ass neighbors. Because the second he saw Joe, he was like, "You fucking got her killed, didn't you?" And Joe's
Yeah, and he's
just
like, I should
using-
kill you right now. I'm
Yeah.
gonna kill you. Oh,
But then
she's
he
gonna
was
kill you.
he was gonna be right when he's like, whatever Love's gonna do to you will be worse. And obviously, Love didn't get to do it, but
I'm still surprised that he got like super aggressive on Joe, because seeing him in that, I would have feel like his thought would have been like, oh my god, like you've been like a hostage this whole time. Like Love has been threatening to kill you or do something to your kid like against your will if you don't keep your mouth shut.
I
But
think
he
that's
did
why
see
he.
through it.
Yeah, I think that's why he didn't kill him though, because he wasn't 100% sure. Because I think
Mhm.
he could have, and then he dropped
You
that
think he's
line about
capable of
Love.
murder?
Maybe
At
not,
that
but
point, he was completely off his rails.
But
Well,
at
that's
the
why I
same
don't
time,
like
we
the
had
character because it's just like he's supposed to be like this guy that's just a victim, and then he just goes full psycho to the point that he's basically gonna murder someone, and then like the next scene he's just like 100% healthy and like fine, and like Theo, let's just be father and son, and let's just go live in the
they're
woods or
happy.
something.
He thought his son was dead, and he's alive now.
Yeah.
A lot happens. He's lost his wife. He's just happy anything's there. Love's
Fair enough.
dead. You know.
Yeah.
Tell
I'm
me
not
what happens when
100%
you go
loving
through
it.
that experience. Tell
God,
me.
I hope not. I hope I don't ever have to do that.
Uh, go ahead.
No, I completely forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry.
The
about
only
that.
thing I was gonna show that I think it worked. I don't know if we necessarily needed it, but I get why they did it because they really paired her with Mary and the full thing of like, oh, if you don't do something, someone might get hurt. They did this last season with Joe and flashbacks with his mom. They did this now with like a school nurse, and that was like liking like young Joe and stuff. I think it worked enough. I don't think it gave us anything too much more new that we didn't already know about Joe. So it reminded me a lot of, again, just like Dexter, eventually they like got rid of the Harry flashbacks because it was like, we've done everything with Harry. Let's make him a ghost now, And other than which, I wonder if it will come back. They showed that Joe does have a brother out there, and I do think that could also play. Like, I'm not saying he has to get
The ice
phases
truck
of-
killer's coming.
well, they specifically put that there, but I do think there will be a moment where he will at least meet his mother again. I think that's when he's in the court of law being
Yeah. I'm
for all these
I'm really
murders,
liking
but-
this theory of yours, especially all these characters that I know are still out there. Like that's
Yeah.
obviously where we get Matthew and Theo and all those guys because
He is a trail. He's left a trail of
Yeah.
people that would point
The
and
piss.
say, yeah, yeah,
the
and
piss will take the stand.
His brother finds it.
yeah, yeah. Look at
His
this
brother
chart.
finds it.
Do you guys got anything to add on those flashbacks?
I was expecting more to come from them. I
Mm-hmm.
was expecting some big thing to happen with the nurse, and it's just like, okay, she's abused and just kind of, I don't know, made Joe feel like even more isolated because he had some kinship or friendship with her, and then yeah. So I don't know.
That was the
I
most
was expecting
predictable
more.
part of the show. That was the show that
Oh,
felt
yeah.
like everything that you thought would happen did happen. You're like, okay, this seems like
I
what I thought would go down.
so yeah. I like the guy that plays Little Joe. He's pretty good at the role, but
Mhm.
whoever Joe's like buddy was, he was such a
Mhm.
fucking dick to him,
Asshole,
like
yeah.
terrible friend. Yeah.
I hope he finds him and kills him in France.
Yeah. That's why he's in Paris. Marianne's not there.
Yeah.
He's looking for this kid, this fucker.
Yeah. Taylor, anything on the flashbacks? Did you have a nurse like that?
Did I have a nurse
Yeah.
like that?
A nurse you fancied?
Did anyone have a nurse in their schools? Because I
No.
always thought that was the biggest like lie that we've seen in like shows. Maybe it's like an American thing.
Yeah,
Well, that
it's
wasn't
more
even a
American.
school he was in, right? He was in like a youth.
Still, you know, when you
yeah,
watch
youth.
any shit like Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, they probably got a, a school nurse or something.
The
Americans, let
States,
us
I
know.
think. Yeah, Americans, I think they have that, but not here. No, not definitely not here. Well, actually,
Bunch
I
of
do remember
pussies.
having a
Can't-
nurse
can't-
at one point.
Can't handle a scraped knee over there in America. Come on.
It's probably like, hey, the nurse will take care of you, so your parents don't have to take you to the hospital and
Yeah.
charge an
your
arm and a
parents
leg.
hate you. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I do find the scenes to be a little bit lackluster, but at the same time, I do like how it kind of paralleled with Joe's kind of development and his story. Like when something would
Yeah.
happen in the present day, it'd be like, okay, it has this call back to it being the same scenario when he was young. So it kind of gives us a little bit of insight to like,
Yeah.
hey, this happened. That's why he's evolving and he's a bit traumatized in this current scenario. Because even a moment like when he had a fit of rage with Love, it flashes back to him in a moment when he was younger. And I think, okay, this is why he's getting angry. And like Love doesn't see that and can't understand that, but it makes sense for us watching why he like slams the wall and gets super pissed, right?
Theo
So I
thought he
do
had
like
him in
those
that
moments.
moment. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I got that fucker, that abusive
Um,
guy. It's like, oh, if you only know, man.
But as far as those scenes go, I do think it was just concluding just as that setup for that other kid. I think that'll be really interesting when that comes full circle in the fourth season.
I like the point that you made on like the flashbacks tying into kind of what was going on in the moment, because I thought that like the placement of them was really good for the most part. At least the ones that was like relevant to whether it was his behavior or a thought process that he had, and then it would tie back to a tragic childhood memory. So
yeah.
Anything else you guys want to shout? Yeah, anything you guys want to shout out now for you season 3 before we give a rating and get out of here? I think I've said pretty much everything. I know when I rewatch it, I'll have like different things to shout out, but
yeah, I don't know if we really talked about like the therapy stuff. I thought that was fun, especially when it was like like when moments when Joe would be like inner dialoguing, like, oh, okay, she's gonna be just taking her side and all these things, and then when like it totally flipped and she was like kind of calling out Love, and he's like, oh, this isn't how I was expecting.
Oh, I love her.
This to go
She's the
whatsoever.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when she goes back to the Love side, he's like, this bitch. Like,
yeah. And I liked when she's like, oh, we got into a fight, and it's like literally they killed or she killed Natalie. It's like, how did you guys handle it? And then it would go to like them actually dealing with the situation.
Yeah,
like,
that was a good
obviously they would
episode.
filter. So like that was a fun thing with the therapy. I kind of was hoping that it would last longer.
great title of that episode was So I Married an Axe Murderer, which is a nice
Oh,
shout
yeah.
out to the Michael Myers movie or Mike Myers movie.
Taylor, you haven't seen that movie, have you?
Which movie?
So I Married an Axe Murderer.
No, I haven't.
You'd
Oh
love
my
it. It's up your
gosh.
alley. It's Mike
It's up
Myers.
your alley.
He marries like a serial killer, and it's
Retro.
And
maybe
he
one
plays
day,
more
yeah.
than one role, just like Austin Powers.
Yeah, it was like the beginning stages of that. But
he's
yeah,
so good.
if you look at the titles on Netflix, they're always very, very
I
clever.
was gonna say the Swingers one was a swing and a miss. That was a great again, just great title.
On that episode too, I really liked when they had that like argument downstairs and like Love just blurts all the information out, and I was like, oh,
and they go upstairs,
shit.
yeah.
Like that moment when like Joe is trying to read them and he's talking to like, I can't tell, like, and then it happens so fast, and like the whole bow thing was, I can't
Glad he
remember
brought me these his and her
with Carrie. Yeah, like with Carrie, like he's just running around in the backyard, like, and the bow stuff was just hilarious. I
Yeah.
don't know why that was funny.
Yeah, hey, Carrie took a lot of shots and then eventually went down. But
I was gonna
was
say,
a
I feel like
tank.
Carrie would have just crushed Joe. Like, come on, he's like double the size.
Well, he was scared. He didn't know Joe.
That's
but
fair.
like I did,
Just
I, know-
muscles, right?
I also thought Joe killed him at first when he hit him with that rock. I
Yeah.
didn't think he was alive because Joe just took so long to think about him. Like, oh, is he committing murder here? And obviously, again, that's when they get it on. But yeah, that was a good episode. Her like scratching her belly, and that whole ordeal, like we talked about, that episode was a big highlight there.
Hakuna Matata.
Someone Disney should sue these fuckers. Nobody
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached that point. Taylorfield, what would you rate this season out of 10?
Honestly, I'd probably go a 10 out of 10. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed every episode from start to finish. I got like addicted to it, and it was such a good
You got
thrill
obsessed.
ride.
No wonder why he responds to Joe. Yeah, he's looking at all his
so
Netflix.
relatable, you know.
Yeah. He's looking at all his shows, but then he sees the You show. He's like, "Oh, look at this!" Like,
yeah, I get obsessed. No, it's just a great season. It picked up, had so much character development, had so many new fresh things in there. Again, with Love being in this show as a dynamic, like you guys touched upon it, like the narrations that she's diving into now of her character and her trajectory as a character. I love that. It was just so cool to see two sides of this coin. With the kid dynamic, we didn't really talk about Dottie, but I mean, that was a whole interesting scenario. Like, how would you feel, Travis, about the whole vineyard thing if you lose your kid? Like,
that was awful. They made and that's why I did like love that she had like all those paperwork drawn that she couldn't have the kid or anything. Like, she was actually serious and she stuck by her ground. So again, like these characters constantly like evolve and regress. But that was the final moment again where it shows, like we talk about Joe having some moments with Henry. That was a moment where she's like, "Okay, I've had enough. You can no longer be around this kid. And even if me and Joe die, you cannot have custody of this kid." So when Dante got the kid, they're like, "No, the court of law said no. Like that was their parents' last wish, so it didn't happen." Even though I feel like the court might question Love's last wishes as she was a fucking murderer. Like, I don't know if they would I don't know how legally binding that is, because
but Dad's not a murderer though. I mean, so
yeah,
that's
true.
still
Well,
binds.
he went along with it, but no, but that's that was the whole, like Kirklin mentioned, that the whole like Henry and 40 thing and stuff. So that actress is really good as far as like, because sometimes you like the mom.
Is she in? She was so familiar, and I couldn't pin
Eternals. I don't know.
I'll like
it for you.
I like it because sometimes same like Joe and Love, where it's like you're rooting for, like, oh yeah, she's one of the good guys. She's trying to help our characters out. And then other times you're like, oh, you're just selfish and you're just a child. But yeah, that whole episode where she just had a meltdown, that was not good. And she just goes like some fast food place, and it's like 40's like in the front seat, and she's like ordering all this food and stuff. She had a complete meltdown. But you can see where Love gets it from, you know?
Yeah, and I liked the similarities that she was like telling Love on how just like similar that she was at that age. And
Yeah.
it's just like, you're just me at that age. Like, I know you. I know these are the things you do. And there was a really good moment where Dottie actually, like, I liked this moment that she had, because she like just dropped a serious truth bomb on Love when Love comes back from like boning Theo, and Dottie's just like everything she said, I'm like, wow, like that was an important thing that she said, and it was just like straight to the point, and I'm like, damn, Dottie's like, she's got her wits about her. And then in the previous or the following episodes, she's just like being a bitch and terrible, and like literally almost murders their child. And yeah, but like that one moment when she just totally made Love feel like shit when she should. Like, she literally is just fucking around instead of coming and like taking care of her baby. And I love that dialogue that she had.
She missed Henry's first steps because she was getting some Theo-D.
So Kirklin, she's in The Bank Job and Troy.
There you go. That would be the main one. She was Jesus Christ, what's
she plays Andromac?
That's totally what I was
Andromac.
Not Underworld. Kirkland Patzer, what would you rate this season?
Yeah, this one is kind of tough. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10, not a 10 out of 10, because just
hated it.
Certain things with Matthew really didn't like that, and it's kind of like a dynamic score, because I feel like once the show's all said and done, which I don't know if I even said, I am hoping that it goes like 5 seasons. 5 episodes into the next season.
5 episodes left. That's it. Yeah, and Netflix is like, this is shit.
So I hope it goes maybe 1 or 2 more seasons. I pretty much
it's definitely going 1.
Yeah, I liked what Travis pitched with the whole court thing. It would just be a really like intense conclusion to Joe's story, and he's a bad guy. I don't really want to see him drive off into the sunset. But so yeah, so once the show's all said and done, if it gets to the point where like they never touch upon the piss, all of these characters that they left like undead, not dead is what I'm trying to say.
Alive.
Yeah, there you go. All these people that they left alive, if they just don't ever touch upon them, it'll probably bring down some scoring, like
Mhm.
for the show in general. But if they bring stuff back, whether it's like Matthew comes back with a vengeance and like really just like I don't know, puts the nail in the coffin for Joe, whether it's the piss, whether there's some good Carrie stuff, like I could see this being like a 10 out of 10 because I think what I was shown with Matthew, I just really didn't like his just like he was going insane, honestly. He was going full crazy.
Oh yeah.
And his whole like Skynet surveillance of the entire town, like nothing came of that really. Like
No, yeah, not really. The town people didn't trust him as much because remember they leaked that, so they were
okay,
pissing
but
off at him.
that's
But
like
no,
off-screen stuff.
it's minor
like
stuff.
me,
It's
yeah.
minor. Yeah,
And then I guess Theo got like the footage on the memory stick, which I don't know how
That's
the
true.
fuck he fit all of that data on that memory stick. That must be like a 1 terabyte stick. Nonetheless,
big stick.
he uses it to figure out that it was Joe that was doing some tomfoolery in Natalie's clothes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will follow suit of Taylor's because I'm a 10 out of 10 as well. I think maybe I don't actually know if I think last season might have been a 10 out of 10 because those twists and love was so good. And again, I know I just sound more negative for a 10 out of 10 review. It's just because I've been down this road before with Dexter, and I just worry, and I'm happy. I'm going to enjoy it, but I just worry this is the peak. And I worry we'll be here in a year talking about you season 4. And we're going to be like, And I do think that is a tribute to how great the writing and the acting was of the love character, because I think Joe in season 1 and season 2 was great, but the love character just entered a dynamic of even when you're rooting against her, just something, whether it's like another side, like main character, whether it's the episode where she's the main character, it just added something unpredictable. Especially that's good because Joe, after 2.5 seasons, like we know pretty much Joe. He's evolving, but we know how he works. With Love, it was so great. So, and I also think they made the right call because I don't think, as I said before, Love had to die. I don't think you could have got another season with those two because that would have been repetitive, or it just would have been, it would have felt like Dexter, where it's like we get unbelievable, where they do all these things and still get away with it. I get that she had to die, but I just worry it as like a Trinity thing. And my worry is just because this season was so good. It's one of these how they top it. Now, my hope is we get to season 4 and we're talking about, man, they really knocked it to the park. They found a way. So I'm going to give them all the benefit of the doubt because they've given me nothing but good to great seasons. But yeah, this was one for the books. And even if it doesn't reach the heights again, that's fine. But it was all worth it for a season like this. It was a fantastic season. It felt like that big main event season. And even if these are the great seasons, I'm perfectly fine at that. So 10 out of 10 for me. Loved pretty much every minute. And I have minor complaints, but nothing too huge. So yeah, that's where I am on you season 3. So we did it. We're not sure if it's going to be next year, but they are making a season 4. So we'll be back and see what Nick is doing in France and with Marion, and maybe he meets another you or something like that. I'm still saying the only other you that I will accept is if they get the girl that played Beck, but they dye her hair and they change her appearance a little bit. And that's why he kind of falls for her. And he doesn't knowingly. They used to do this all the time in like the early 80s of like actresses playing double roles. And I would love that if he would like fall in love with like a kind of, like, you guys remember Bedazzled, how like Brendan Fraser's in love with the blonde one, and then he finds like the brunette version. Like, I would love something like that. And then that's, I still want him to get fucking caught. I'm not like Taylor. I don't want him to be fucking lumberjack or happy ending with all these kids. No, he needs to be caught and put to jail because he's a fucking tampon creeper guy. So
that would be.
I'm not saying a happy ending. I want it to be left on a cliffhanger.
that would be cliffhanger. It'd be like, how fast does he die from this needle?
My mind would blow if they brought back the character of Beck, especially like what was the last thing he said in this season? It was Beck, wasn't it?
Oh, he did. He said that Love became a bigger like legend, even bigger than
even
Beck.
Dun,
And
dun,
he's still
dun.
bitter because at one point he called Beck a child this season. But it's like, yeah, but you still were like, that really started. Like Candace really, I guess, did start, but this started the real big chain of wax or ball of wax for him. So,
Yeah.
Beck's still pretty important. You never forget
Yeah.
your first, so. Well, we did it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in. When you hear from us next, I promise you it'll not be boring.